In a few days, I faced dangers I had never imagined. What began as an expedition into the jungle became a battle for survival, alone without water or food and surrounded by predators. However, there was an unexpected detail that saved my life, and today I reveal how I did it. The jungle feels like another world. Towering trees rise like buildings, blocking almost all sunlight. Every step could be the last if you are not careful. Its paths are illogical labyrinths, its life is relentless, and its rule is simple: the strongest survives. But who would venture alone into the jungle? That is why I did not go alone to the jungle. I went with my companions, and on our way we reached a local tribe. They warned us about dangerous areas and animals to avoid. They taught us about jungle culture, its food, its customs. And while we talked, they invited us to try the local food. They showed us some fat grubs, but luckily they cooked them instead of serving them raw, and I still remember the taste of that strange grub, amazingly similar to chicken. An unexpected delight in the heart of the wild jungle. The next day, while my companions observed more closely the tribe's customs, I spotted a strange animal, a red monkey in my eyes. It was very unusual because of its color. I was curious and wanted to take a photo, but the monkey moved away from me, and in my attempt to capture a good image, I wandered too far from camp. When I tried to turn back to return, I suddenly found myself lost in the heart of the jungle. There is no more terrifying feeling than being completely alone in a place with no trails, no signal to call for help. Every shadow and sound could hide something lethal. Every crackle in the foliage made me hold my breath. I knew I had to be extremely careful, as the jungle is full of dangers and creatures it is best not to encounter. Thankfully, I was carrying my travel pack, which gave me a small advantage. I tried to find a way back, but it was useless. The vegetation was so uniform that I could not distinguish a clear path. When night fell, I decided to set up camp. In my backpack, I had a portable tent, and with some effort, I managed to start a fire to light the area and keep warm. That first night, I felt great anguish and anxiety, and it was no wonder because I understood who my true neighbors were and what real danger meant. While I was in the tent, a jaguar moved silently in the darkness right by my shelter. Its distant roar chilled my blood. Through a small gap in the tent zipper, I saw something that paralyzed me: two eyes shining among the bushes. I remained still, not breathing, not daring to move a single muscle. I slowly backed away without averting my gaze, avoiding any direct eye contact. That night, I understood the true meaning of fear. Sleep was impossible. The fear consumed me, but at dawn something unexpected happened. In front of me, holding a fruit, was the same red monkey I had tried to photograph. For a moment, I thought it was offering me food. I approached and tried to grab the fruit, but the monkey climbed a tree and ran away. And even though I tried to take the fruit from its hand, many times the monkey would flee and would not give it to me. So I sighed resigned and told myself the important thing now is to return to a safe place. I tried to use my phone, but there was still no signal. I checked my backpack. I had a little water and some food enough for one day. With no better option, I started walking aimlessly. Hours later, I came upon a swampy area. Immediately, I remembered what the tribe members had warned us: never to enter a swamp, as it is full of anacondas. And just as I was thinking about that, I saw an enormous anaconda sliding slowly a few meters from me. I held my breath. My only hope was that it was not hungry, and luckily, its swollen belly indicated it had eaten recently. And fortunately, it simply ignored me and continued on its way. But at that moment, fear wrapped me like never before. I backed away with extreme caution until I was far from that area. Even then, I felt a deep fear. I left that place, vowing never to return to swampy zones. On the third day, my situation became critical. My water supply had completely run out, and the thirst was starting to consume me. I recalled the basic survival lessons I had learned before the expedition. I knew I had to find water soon, or I wouldn't survive much longer. Using the few navigation skills I had, I started looking for any signs of a possible river or stream. With renewed energy, I quickened my pace until I reached a small river with clean water hidden among the vegetation. Never before had the simple sound of water seemed so beautiful to me. I approached carefully, remembering the warnings about caimans and other aquatic predators, since even small creatures can cause serious harm. I examined the area thoroughly before kneeling down at the riverbank. I took out my canteen and filled it to the top, adding a few drops from the purifier I always carried in my emergency kit. While I waited for the water to be safe to drink, I refreshed my face and arms, feeling how life returned to my exhausted body. This river not only provided me with vital water, but also a route to follow. Rivers usually lead to human settlements, and if I followed it, my chances of finding help or recognizing some landmark that could guide me back to the camp or the village would increase. With renewed hope and a full canteen, I decided to follow the river's path. The jungle felt less threatening now that I had water and a clear direction. Maybe, after all, I would survive this trial of extreme survival. But as I walked along the river, I had a freeze in place. Fear nearly paralyzed me. A jaguar had come down to the water to drink. I hid as quickly as I could behind a tree and waited silently. When it finally moved away from the river, I came out of hiding and resumed my path, but with a serious scare in my chest. Although wild animals are usually frightened by human presence, it's better not to find out if one of them doesn't react the same way. I camped near the river. At dawn on the fourth day, I began to move forward, following the current. The path was difficult, alternating between muddy banks and sections where the vegetation was so dense that I had to get into the water to continue. I knew the river could be as dangerous as it was generous, so I kept my senses alert. It didn't take long for me to face the dangers that lurk in these waters. While crossing a shallow area, a wrong step made me stumble. In an instant, I felt a sharp pain in the water. A young anaconda had bitten my foot, and with a wrong move caused by the shock, I injured myself. With all my strength, I moved away from the young anaconda, but the wound on my leg was a serious problem. That's why I grabbed a kit from my backpack and tied an improvised bandage around my leg. I rested for a while to recover my strength. Hours later, while I was resting under the shade of a tree, I heard a loud buzzing. A cloud of tropical mosquitoes descended on me like a living storm. I quickly applied the little repellent I had left, but I had already received dozens of bites. I knew that diseases transmitted by these insects could be as deadly as any predator. I looked for shelter under a pile of leaves to protect myself until the insect storm passed. At dusk, when the light began to fade, I came across a narrow section where the river formed rapids. My injured foot worried me, but I had no other choice since there was no other path. There was no way to continue along the riverbank, so I had to cross the river. The water was treacherous. The slippery rocks made every step difficult. While crossing, one wrong step and the current swept me away. I lost my balance and fell, hitting a submerged rock. It stunned me, but I didn't pass out. The pain was intense. As the current dragged me, I saw a large tree near the river. So I swam with all my might and managed to grab hold of an exposed root of the nearby tree. With great effort, I dragged myself to the riverbank. I was soaked and exhausted, but I was still alive. That night was the only one when I was able to sleep because my body was completely drained and every muscle ached. I lit a small fire to dry my clothes and keep predators away. The sound of the flames crackled softly in the darkness. For the first time in days, I felt a bit of safety. But even so, I didn't stop hearing the sounds of the jungle branches cracking in the distance, something moving among the bushes. Still, my body couldn't take it anymore. I surrendered to deep sleep, not knowing if I'd wake up the next day. When the dawn of the fifth day lit up the jungle, the river had changed. Its waters widened, as if they were guiding me somewhere. I took down my improvised shelter and began to walk with more urgency. Something in the air told me I was close to something. I didn't know if it would be my salvation or a new danger. As I moved forward, the vegetation changed. The trees weren't as dense, and sunlight reached the ground more easily. It seemed like I had entered a more open area, and that's when I saw it. The first signs of human activity. I found a piece of rope tied around a tree. There were also remains of an old campfire. When I saw all of this, my heart raced. I couldn't believe it. It seemed I was close to a tribe or near people. I quickened my pace as much as my exhausted body allowed. But what I found next made me freeze in place. I found some bones poking out from the damp earth, and something inside me told me not to look, but curiosity was stronger. That's when I got closer and dug a little with my trembling hands. When I saw what was there, a chill ran through me from head to toe. It was a corpse, or what was left of one. The bones were broken and crushed, as if something had smashed them with monstrous force. It didn't look like a natural death. The smell of disturbed earth mixed with something else, something rotten, turned my stomach. I stepped back immediately, my instincts screaming at me to get out of there. The last thing I needed was to find out what or who had done this. I didn't look back. I didn't want to imagine that maybe something was watching me from the shadows. I kept walking without stopping. My body was on the edge, but fear was now stronger than exhaustion. Around noon, as I followed a bend in the river, something caught my attention. Human footprints. They were fresh, pressed into the damp soil. My heart pounded. If there were people nearby, maybe I was saved. I started following them with excitement, forgetting for a moment the pain in my legs. And then I heard it in the distance, voices. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. But no, they were real. Human voices speaking in the local dialect. With the last bit of strength I had left, I ran toward the voices. Every step was painful, but hope kept pushing me forward. Suddenly, the river opened into a small natural bay. And there, right in front of me, was the village of the tribe we had visited just days earlier. Several fishermen turned when they saw my silhouette emerging from the jungle. I was dirty, injured, and on the verge of collapse. For a moment, they didn't react until one of them recognized me. He started shouting, calling the others. In the crowd, I saw familiar faces, my expedition teammates. In just a few seconds, fear and despair melted away. We embraced, and tears of relief rolled down my face. They told me, "We thought you were dead. We've been searching for you for days. We were planning one last expedition upriver, but thank God you made it back to the tribe." That night, surrounded by my friends and the kind villagers, while I recovered with warm food and medical care, I understood that I had survived thanks to a combination of basic knowledge, instinct, and most of all, the determination not to give up. As I ate a soup made from medicinal herbs, a deep sleep came over me and I laid down to rest. When I woke up, no one was around me, so I stepped out of a hut made of straw and wood. The villagers were surprised and told me I had been asleep for over an entire day. Apparently, I had been so exhausted that I slept straight through. The tribe explained some of the herbs and how they help the body. Thanks to that soup, I was able to rest deeply and recover faster. This jungle expedition had taught me a powerful lesson. Never stray too far from people. But while I was recovering, something began that would affect us all. Without anyone in the tribe noticing, some jungle explorers came across baby anacondas. They observed them closely and thought about taking one of the babies. One of the tribe's explorers took a baby anaconda. Maybe they could sell it or raise it to get more out of it. When they arrived at the village, people were shocked by what he was carrying in his hand, and they claimed they had risked their lives to capture the baby anaconda. But without realizing it, they had angered the mother anaconda. And believe me, it was better not to. Will this story continue? This is where it ends for now. If you'd like to see a continuation, you can let me know in the comments. Depending on the support, this story might truly continue. See you next time.